So that says that that's working. Now let me go back in here and double check these two. I go back offline. I don't know quite yet if this is working. I'm gonna wait. Let's see. Looks like it is receiving. Okay. Well, it took me about 10 minutes. Yeah, don't mind me right now. I'm watching the stream and I want to make sure that the visual is coming through clear. Okay, I think that this is working, so I'm gonna post this into the other groups here, and we're gonna just. This is where the actual stream is happening. Alright, cool. I have confirmation that it appears to be working, so I'm just going to take this time now just to go through and get things started here. So if you are in fact watching, thanks for joining and welcome to my webinar. This is all about pro tips that you can take while prior to applying to ESL jobs in China. The whole reason that I'm doing this is because I've been living in China now for just about 5 years. I think in August that's going to be my 5th year anniversary. And in that time, I've mostly I've been teaching ESL in that time, and I've spoken to many teachers over the years, and I've seen lots of different job advertisements. I've worked in a number of different jobs, and there's a lot that I wish I knew before I started, There are tons of optimizations you can make to working in China, and I just wanted to share with you some of those experiences, and this is giving me a little bit of an echo, and yeah, see if any of this could be of use to any of you. So let me put this over here in the live chat. Shout out if you're joined. Okay, so let's just kind of get into it here. So ESL in China, a webinar by China Briefcases is actually my first webinar, and I'm sure it shows because I've had technical trouble now for 20 minutes. It is unexpectedly difficult to get things to start streaming correctly on YouTube, and that might be because I'm in China, actually. So, what with Google and YouTube being blocked, that is a very strong possibility. So, just to kind of very quickly brief you on all the things that we are discussing, I want to talk about the more basic points in today's webinar. So not really the things to master once you get on the ground in China, but really just kind of the bare fundamentals of applying to jobs in China. So we're going to talk about, 1, how to find a job, 2, what to expect when you are looking for work, 3, what to be aware of, and 4, just some general points on teaching English in China. And this will also include a Q&A session if, in fact, I have any viewers at all who aren't scared away from my technical troubles. Currently it looks like I don't have any, but hey, that's okay. So a little bit about me. I've been living in China now for the last 5 years. I started working in a university actually about 5 years ago. The whole point of me coming over to China was I just gotten out of graduate school. I was in a PhD program actually, PhD for sociology. This was at the University of Notre Dame, a fairly prestigious program, but in the midst of that program, I learned that academia was really not for me. It's not that I found academia to be hard, it's just that I found it to be, it just seemed to kind of take the life out of me. I found it to be just a little bit too petty. People were too focused on, kind of getting too lost in things that were ultimately meaningless, and I wanted to go out and, kind of bring meaning back into my life, be doing something that is meaningful, see some things and become, educated by seeing it firsthand. And me, I'm very interested in politics, the world, different cultures, that sort of thing. And so my reasoning was, I should go to China. And the idea here is that if I understand China has 1.4 billion people and is also widely considered to be the up-and-coming superpower of the 21st century, then at that point I will understand a significantly higher proportion of the world. I already have the United States and American history, culture, sociology down in pat, but I want to learn about China. If I learn Chinese culture, Chinese language, then I become that much more educated. At that time, I thought maybe I'd go into the foreign service or take up a research job. But as it turned out, once I got to China, I realized that there were opportunities that were much better than I had initially thought. And so, and that's back when I first came here. That was back in 2014. You can see my residence permit here, issued on 30th of September 2014. It's now April 7th, 2019. So I've been here kind of a while. But coming back to you, I want to talk a little bit about whether you should even choose to teach ESL abroad in the first place, because it is a really big decision, right? If you are considering teaching ESL, then you're considering making a pretty big life change, right? You're thinking about leaving a very comfortable country to go somewhere where you don't understand the culture, you almost certainly don't understand the language, and almost certainly you haven't done this before, you haven't taught a class before. The vast majority of ESL teachers, in China, for them, their Chinese job was their first ESL job. So this is kind of a very personal decision. I of course strongly would encourage it, simply because teaching abroad gives you a vastly expanded perspective into the world, and also into just different opportunities that you can take up. It provides an exhilarating amount of freedom, because it offers you a pretty flexible working schedule and a significant amount of paid vacation. So that allows you to, if you want to relax and go travel the world, you can do it while teaching in China for the most part. If you want to do what I'm doing and start a business, that is also something you can do. If you want to learn a new language, learn Chinese, you'll have more than enough time to do that. And in fact, that's what I spent my first few years in China doing, was just learning Chinese. And so I will say that coming to China requires a certain mindset. It does require a certain flexibility, adaptability. Because China is really frustrating at times, and I'll get into this in the next slide. Since this is only about teaching ESL abroad, I think it's more important to understand that you shouldn't make this decision. You shouldn't come to teach ESL abroad if it's your only choice. Well, I guess in that case maybe you'd want to, but what I'm saying is, like, the people who don't thrive are the people who are doing it because they feel like they have nothing else to do. And some people over here in China are coming to China to escape something back home. Now that's you. Teaching abroad is probably not the best idea, because it's difficult. So if you aren't an adaptive, flexible person, you have to want adventure. You have to want freedom, and you have to think of the idea of being somewhere else as truly interesting. Let's double check my chart here. Okay, I'm pretty sure I'm the only one watching this, but that's okay. It's all good practice for me, right? So, on that note, which country should you teach in? So let's assume that you are interested in teaching abroad. I obviously care most about China. China is what I do. China is where I live, etc. But there are actually quite a few options, and there's no reason you have to restrict yourself only to teaching in China. Of course, it is pretty much a standard option and I compare pretty much every other country to China. Um, you could opt to teach in Thailand. That's a quite a popular option. It's, I should say, a bit messy because there are a lot of backpackers over there, and they basically, they just plop in the country, and for them it's a vacation. Um, they get whatever jobs they can get. They take whatever pay they can get, and then they kind of disappear. Um, and the legal situation is not very well resolved. My understanding is that most people work illegally. They just get some meager amount of pay from schools, and it is a very very low pay in Thailand. Vietnam is a similar situation, but my understanding is that actually the pay is quite generous over there, and in some cases more generous than China is. So that's certainly an option. And the visa situation is like Thailand. It's very pretty easy, pretty simple. Korea, on the other hand, now Korea is one of the most popular places to teach ESL. I think China's become more and more popular over time, but prior to that, Korea was the most popular place because it pays pretty well. Now, over the last 10 years, it's become more difficult to teach in Korea because they've raised their standards considerably. There's been a huge influx of teachers, and so they've been able to afford being a little bit more picky. But yeah, the pay is very good in Korea, and so that's, if you're qualified, absolutely do consider it. I considered going to Korea, and I opted against it because I thought I wouldn't enjoy Korean culture or Korean food. So I wanted to be in China, where I thought the action was, right? All the excitement, all the news articles, everyone talking China. I wanted to be there, so that was my choice for coming to China. Saudi Arabia, UAE, Dubai, these countries, they're all based in the Middle East. They're exceptionally competitive, but they pay really, really well. We're talking like 50,000, 60,000 USD per year, and that doesn't include the apartment that they provide, plus a bunch of additional extra bonuses, plus the paid vacations, and all that good stuff. Of course, it's maybe less fun to teach in these places. A lot of people have negative experiences, at least in Saudi Arabia. Dubai could be really fun though. Dubai is a very relatively international destination, and kind of a crazy one. So if you have a master's degree in teaching ESL, absolutely consider the Middle East. Could be a really awesome adventure. And then there are a lot of people interested in going to European countries. Those are really competitive. I haven't even considered them because of how competitive they are. They're always able to find someone. Spanish people are generally able to find Spaniards who are able to teach English, for example, or have dual passports or what have you. So a little bit more difficult to find in there. And of course, there's also the whole rest of the world. You can join Peace Corps with the United States and go teach in Africa, or there's plenty of countries in South America where you can teach. Haven't looked into those as much though. The point is that there's a whole world of options out here. In terms of what you should know about China, actually, let me come back out here and check my stream. Okay, yeah. I don't see anyone, but that's okay. I'm checking my other. Okay. If you are there, please do write something in the chat box so I know that I'm not just doing this for practice. That's always nice to know. Anyway. It's 98%. Jesus Christ. Okay. So what you should know about China, a lot of people, are interested in coming to China, but they don't know the first thing about it. So here are some first things about it. One, very traditional, very conservative. This is of particular importance if you are, for example, gay, lesbian, transgender, etc. These things, China is not ahead of the time zone, so you really can't expect that, and that should absolutely be a factor in your thinking. But on the other hand, if they are atheist, I have had a couple of friends who were surprised to learn that, because they think China is very traditional, therefore China is religious. Not true. They are 100% atheist. This comes from their history as a communist country. Because communism, the whole idea is that religion is a competing ideology to political power, and religion therefore needs to be stamped out in the common people.